Welcome to Business Talk. Today we're talking offshore investing in an economy where the stock universe feels narrower than the Cape Town N2 in rush hour. Many South Africans are asking if the grass really is greener on the international side. Well, Old Mutual certainly says it is, but what does that mean for individuals and businesses alike? How do we get there? Well, joining us to unpack this is someone who's no stranger to navigating the high seas of Forex, Harry Scherzer, CEO at Future Forex. Harry isn't just dipping his toes into the Forex world, he's really taken the plunge and built a fintech that's redefining how South Africans approach offshore investing. So whether you're an individual eyeing global markets or if you're a business looking for a partner to help with imports and exports, Harry's really your guy to go to. So Harry, great to have you back on the show. Let's start with the obvious. And we know it's important for South African individuals to invest offshore. We're a very small part of the global universe. But why do you see it as especially important now, given the challenges and the limitations that we see in our local market?
How's it, Michael? Yeah, thanks for having me on again. And I think we're at a pivotal time in terms of moving money offshore versus keeping it in South Africa. And the reason for that is there's a lot of uncertainty in the world at the moment. I mean, the new Trump presidency in the US, the wars going on in Israel and Palestine and in Russia and Ukraine. It's a very uncertain time. And while the GNU and other factors have made South Africa seem like it's on the up, it doesn't make sense, in my view, for South Africans to be putting their full basket of assets in South African assets. It makes a lot of sense to diversify. So should the wars get worse, should the presidency in the US result in a negative outcome for emerging markets like South Africa, at least you're protected and globally wealthy rather than wealthy in rand terms.
Yeah, I think that's a very sound argument. And also diversification. You know, we're less than 1% of the universe of global assets. If you want access to AI and the chip manufacturers, you can't get them here. If you want NVIDIA, and that's really a future story, you've got to go offshore. And I was chatting to the CEO of 91, Hendrik de Tooy, recently when they announced their Sanlam deal. And I said, the US looks a bit toppish at the moment. He said, Michael, don't ever bet against the US economy. So we may still be surprised, given the high valuations, that it can continue to outperform. Now, the Forex space is highly competitive. If you look at it, the rand certainly one of the most traded liquid currencies in the emerging market world. What made you decide to enter this field, and what unique value does Future Forex bring to the table?
Yeah, so it is one of the most competitive spaces in the market, in the South African market in particular. And the reason we entered it is you have so much potential in this market, so many, as you say, so much liquidity, so many funds moving offshore and back to South Africa. Yet the quality of service in South Africa, we feel, leaves much to be desired. You're in a situation where the banks offer, in our view, very poor service. They overprice, underservice clients, and really what it comes down to is we just wanted to make this client-centric. It's one of the few industries where it's all shareholder heavy, it's all back pocket heavy, it's all about hiding fees, it's all about underservicing because you don't want to spend costs on that. And in our view, that needs to change. We need to be here to disrupt the financial space and to disrupt the ability of sending money offshore. The major banks don't do us justice as clients, as individuals, as small and medium-sized businesses. And so Future Forex is here to change that. We've seen a gap. We've seen a gap in the level of service. We've seen a gap in the level of pricing. And we want to offer better service at a lower price, and have managed to do so.
Now, I can hear so many watching this nodding in agreement, because that just is the general experience as a user. Now, as a fintech, You've obviously seen this, and you said, right, we've got the technology, we can innovate, we can disrupt, we can stand out. So how are you leveraging your technology and your innovation and your first principles to make things better for the end user?
Yeah, so last week we actually won the top technology company at the Digital Innovation Awards by BCX. And that was almost validation for what we already know, which is that we have the best technology in the market. We have an online Forex platform, which is streamlined, which is easy, where you can book your deals, you can manage your transactions, you can manage beneficiaries, all far more simply than the banks have made it. And we've got internal optimization so that we can ensure that clients are streamlined as easy as possible, are onboarded as quickly as possible. Once we've got your details once, we don't ask for them again. It's little things like that that is a premium service. But what we've done differently, Michael, to a lot of fintechs that you see abroad, for example, Wise, Revolut, who we basically modeled our technology on, they're fantastic. But what we've done differently is we've paired that with human interaction, with people, because we believe that a lot of fintechs have gone wrong by being technology focused. But if you have an issue, you get into a ticketing system where they take 48 hours minimum to respond, and it's a little bit difficult to get support. And we believe that people buy from people. People trust people. So we give every client a dedicated account manager who they can WhatsApp, email, chat to on the phone at any time. But underpinning that is the ability to log onto the online Forex platform or any other way you want to book transactions. You don't have to use people, but they're there if you need them. And that combination of having people and technology, in our view, is a winning formula for fintechs.
And especially when it comes to Forex, because I think for many, when it comes to Forex investing, it can be intimidating, bid offer spreads, you've got to deal in South Africa with exchange controls, FARs, all of that. And often that's overwhelming to the average person. So if you just put technology in their hands, they may still feel overwhelmed. So it's very interesting that you've now paired that with the human interaction. How are you also simplifying the process for individual investors?
Yeah, so South Africa is ridiculously complicated when it comes to moving money out the country. You need a reason, you need a BOP code, you need a SARS approval if you go over 1 million rand, or as a business, you might need SARB approvals. There's huge amounts of complications in sending money offshore. And so we've simplified that entire process by doing that all for you. We've got the technology underpinning what needs to be done, but again, we have the people actually doing it. So if you require a SARB approval, a SARS AIT, or anything like that, we do that all for you as a complimentary service. And we then charge as a spread, the same way a bank would. We take a spread. The difference is that we're transparent about it, and our spreads tend to be far lower than the bank spread. So you get all this extra attention, all this extra service, but at a fraction of the cost, and full knowledge and transparency of exactly what you're paying. So what we find with banks is they tend to be very untransparent in their fees. They'll tell you about sort of their processing fee, which might be, 500 rand, 1,000 rand, which is fine. On let's say you're doing a 1 million rand transaction, 500, 1,000 rand really doesn't really touch sides. It's pretty insignificant. But the problem is that they might be charging you a spread, which comes to say 2%, and so suddenly that's 20,000 rand that they're charging you as a spread. So that's where the big fee comes in, but they don't tell you about that. They don't mention there's a spread. They just give you a rate. And if you're not financially literate enough, you won't even know that they're charging anything. Future Forex thinks it has to be the other way around. You need to explain upfront what is being charged, how much is being charged, consistent with that charge. You'll notice that the banks aren't consistent either. They'll charge 2% one day and 2.5% the next day. So there's so much to be improved on, Guy, in the pricing sense, but also in the service sense.
And does that just mean you're taking less of a margin? How is it that you manage to offer that competitive spread? Have the banks, the incumbents, just become a little bit hubristic and lazy, as incumbents tend to be?
Yeah, it's all of the above. I think there's plenty of margin that the banks take because, as I said, they're bottom line heavy. It's how much can we take? And there's been a bit of an oligopoly whereby a client doesn't know they have another option. They think, I bank with Bank X, I'm going to do my Forex with Bank X. They don't realize that there are other options of doing this better. And so our margins are lower than the banks, but we work with a bank, we work with Capitec Bank, and because of our economies of scale, we get razor-thin pricing from Capitec, and we pass those razor-thin savings onto the client, take a small margin ourselves, but the margin we get from Capitec plus our own margin is far lower than if you went to any bank directly, because they don't really want to deal with you. If they're going to deal with you, they're going to charge you huge amounts of money for it to be justified. Whereas we built our entire business around this and around squeezing and around automation to make sure that we're as scalable as possible and pass those savings directly onto our clients.
And you don't just work with individuals here. You also support importers, exporters, SMEs. What makes the platform an attractive solution for these businesses?
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying that we support individuals, small businesses, medium businesses. The one type of business that I think we don't add huge amounts of value to, so we don't target them, are listed companies and larger companies, because that's where the banks actually do take their time and do take their energy, is providing a team to those large companies. But they won't do the same for smaller businesses. If you're a small, medium business, 100 million rand less, often more than that. You don't get the service that's in imports, exports, etc. You don't get the service that you typically should. And so why this is so attractive to SMEs and to individuals is we basically treat you the way that a big bank would treat a large listed company. We give you a team, we give you a dedicated account manager, our team's behind you. We understand the intricacies of your business. We understand, do you need FEC cover for this, or do you need a spot payment? We assist with all of that. We're Forex experts. And the way I see it is for businesses, we're basically your external Forex provider, but at no cost. In fact, it's cheaper than using the bank. And you've got a whole team working with you in doing that.
It's fascinating. And you mentioned that you model some of your business on Revolut. I was in Dublin recently, and it just is amazing to see how Revolut has taken off over there. The first time I saw a vending machine where you could just, if you didn't have Forex, you could go and just press a button and get a card out the machine. So, I mean, these businesses and Future Forex is one of them, are changing the world and using first digital principles to do that. So if you've listened to this and you think, this is brilliant, this is for me, how do I get started with Forex investing? What would you say are the first steps that I should take to kind of dip my toes into the water and experience this for myself?
Yeah, so Michael, you can go to futureforex.co.za. You can navigate to get in touch with us, and one of our team will get in touch with you. Otherwise, you can email us on info@futureforex.co.za. And otherwise, you can simply register on our website. If you've heard enough and you want to get going, you can register at futureforex.co.za. So there are multiple ways of getting in touch. We'd love to assist you. And like you said, Michael, if you've ever used the Revolut app, the Wise app, similar apps abroad, you'll see that they're miles ahead of our major banks' apps. And that's what we're trying to emulate. We're saying South Africans deserve this too. You don't have to be European to get top-tier client service, top-tier applications, and top-tier abilities to send money offshore.
It's very exciting. And we also have regulatory tailwinds here, because retirement funds in South Africa increasingly are looking offshore. Regulation 28 up the limits to 45% that you can now take offshore. How do you see this influencing both individual and corporate investment strategies moving forward?
So the first thing I'll say is that I support it. I think it's good that we're able to send more of our money offshore. The truth is that we need to protect ourselves globally. Even I am highly optimistic of South Africa, and I believe the rand's undervalued and it's got a lot of room to go. But even for me, it makes a lot of sense to diversify my portfolio and put a lot of my assets abroad. So it feels like, irrespective of if you're pro-South Africa, anti-South Africa, neutral about South Africa, you can't hold, as you said, it's only 1% of the world's assets. You can't hold 95% of your assets in South African investments. So I think the fact that it's been upped to 45% is a good thing, and will lead people to be more balanced in their portfolio. So should the rand do very poorly in the next decade, let's say, you're largely protected. Almost half your assets are protected if you utilize that fully.
Yeah, and there's also that, there's a structural weakening of our currency because our inflation rate is structurally higher than the developed world as well. So even in a perfect environment, you would expect the rand to depreciate over time. Your future, I mean, you want to take over the world, I'm sure. It's a fantastic accolade to have won that BCX award. What's next for Future Forex? Are there new services, new markets you may be looking to expand into?
Yeah, so Michael, we're very South Africa-centric. We want to help South Africans. It's a mission of ours. It's a drive. We want to improve the finance space in South Africa. South Africa, I'm hugely patriotic. You can see how the rugby team makes the rest of South Africa feel is how I feel inherently about South Africa. I'm extremely excited about our country. And so what we're trying to do is, everywhere we can, we're trying to improve the finance space for South Africa. We've got an investment offering already. That's a crypto arbitrage offering. We've now gone into international money transfers. And really, we won't stop until it becomes regular for people to use Future Forex over and above their banks, to rather use Future Forex, realizing that the value here is so immense that it's worth actually switching over for foreign exchange payments in particular to Future Forex because of how superior it is relative to what the banks offer.
Well, that's music to my ears. I could probably call you the Russie of Forex then, Harry, because like Russie, you've innovated, you've disrupted the status quo, And so far, I think the proof of the pudding has certainly been in the eating. You've seen fantastic growth and huge accolades and awards for the service that you're building up. Been a real pleasure having you here on Business Talk, and wishing you all the best in 2025. Can't believe we're almost at the end of 2024. It's whizzed by. But looking forward to watching you grow, and that service mindset in South Africa, I think, is great for individual investors, but importantly for SMEs and importers and exporters alike. Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much, Michael. Great chatting to you.